What's popping? My people. Let's get this shit on the road. Alrighty. Alrighty. Boom. Bang. So that way we got context to what I'm about to be talking about. And it is white heaven. What a waste. White Americans constitute a significant portion of U.S. homeless population, roughly 32% to 48%, depending on the study and year. Yet they are underrepresented relative to their share of the total U.S. population. While minority groups face higher rates of homelessness, white individuals often face homelessness due to factors like mental illness, substance abuse, and lack of affordable housing. Why can't the minorities afford it, y'all? It's because somebody's withholding from them. The minorities are who? Black people for the most part. Because until they started letting every Tom, Dick, and Harry into the country, the only other kind of people you saw here might have been a couple Chinese dudes, a couple Arabs, and some Mexicans sprinkled here and there. Everybody else was, fighting and vying for true whiteness. The Jews put white on their fucking applications. Right on? The Italians put white on their applications. The Irish, yes. The niggers of Europe put white on their applications. So you can't confuse yourself into thinking that something that they already saying is true or is not true is true. And we're going to leave that up for a hot minute. So that way when people eventually see it, they know what I'm talking about as I speak to it. So every time I see a white dude, homeless white dude, right? Uh, 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 I don't want to call anybody like truly worthless, but on the on the teetering on the line of worthless, y'all. Like these are kind of people who need to be told that they're not shit. Who need to see and understand. It's not me saying it. It's not the world saying it. Right on. It's the information. Information is not the earth. It's not me. It's just observation that has now been uh, 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 um, perceived by the group where they can make a judgment. And their judgment is, as stated, white Americans constitute a significant portion of U.S. homeless population. Stop right here. Now I need y'all to understand this. Regardless of the fact that the top 2% control a massive amount of wealth, realize what I'm about to say to you and why they're pathetic for being, again, what a waste of good white skin, even though it's pink. Because they got to understand how many of them are homeless, how many of them are destitute and down and out. And yet the barometer for success to most of them is how they feel about black people. But the information right here is, so let's just say black people are half the homeless people in America, right? And we only really represent 13% of the population. That is indicative of us being 40% of all police encounters that are fatal. Yet we're only 13% of the population. So it tells you that that is done by design, because there's no other way that happens. They're again, if they're most of the people in this country, they should be most of the homeless. They should be. Right. But if they only constitute for 32%, roughly to 48%, so at any given time, they're saying that these dudes aren't even half the homelessness. Why that is so important is because who's the other half, y'all? Or who's constituting for a chunk of the other half? I only want to look at the black. If you want to look at the black poverty stuff, please do it yourself. Because it's just heartbreaking and it's disheartening and it's infuriating at the end of the day. And it makes me just pray to God every single time I see it, just to come back and just take us all out of here. Just get rid of all of us if you have to. It pisses me off to no end. So when I see a white dude out there on the street, man, I'm telling you, I get my Paul Mooney on all the time in my head. What a waste of good white skin. Because we have individuals who can't even get black people, 13%, listen, 13% are pulling from less than 1% of the total wealth. Now, again, do you think that's not done by design? That's why when you see all these brothers and sisters who literally lost an opportunity to become somebody, to be somebody. And when I say that, I mean maxing out on the God given earthly potential that they were given from the heavens. For real. Because many people never achieve that. Most of us don't. Most of us won't. Most of us cannot because we're in a position where the odds are so stacked against us that once you overcome one little thing, here comes another mountain of issues or potential issues that can set you back. Now, it's always better for a man to be wise and to be circumspect and to understand his lot in life. If you're not meant to be the king, right? Then you're not even meant to be the court jester, and all you can do is shovel shit. You better be the best shit shoveler anybody ever came across, ever heard of, ever seen. Right on? And they're like, you know what? If I had to shovel shit, I want to be just like him. That's how you have to be. But these dudes are literally out there on the streets. Some of them have skill sets that they were bequeathed because the situations they were born into. Whereas our people had to learn these skills sometimes through the most, unlikely and unconventional of manners. And yet, not that we prevail, is that we we persevere so that way one day we might prevail. I never heard of a man who had victory and gave up. I just think it's crazy that they have an excuse for the white folks right off rip. Listen, while minority groups face higher rates of homelessness, white individuals often face homelessness due to factors like mental illness, substance abuse, and lack of affordable housing. So, okay, again, question is, I'm just going to put black people on minorities. I'm going to just speak for us. How do none of those things affect black people? Like all three of them. The first one affects black people more than any other group in this country. But our ability, again, to persevere, that we might prevail, is greater than our ability to give in on ourselves, to give in to the most atavistic, primordial, capricious, impetuous desires. Again, what a waste in white heaven to be the greater of the population and to be excused by the inexcusable. Because aren't they supposed to be better than us mentally? Again, if there was no such thing as eugenics, I could take white people being homeless and I almost even want to really do something for them and help them. But the fact that I know that they told our people while we were at the, I would argue we were lower at one point than we are now, and I'll explain it real quick. At the transition of the Industrial Revolution, coming from the 1880s, going into the 1890s, going into the 1900s, more black people were shut out of their own genius than any other time in history. We don't have the collective genius that we used to do, the collective creative genius that we used to have. We have a lot of people who can aggrandize and pontificate, but very few really are fabricators of anything. He might be their Christ, family. Salute, bro. Salute. But I was just saying, it's when black people came from that position in time, we were at such a low point that a lot of folks will overlook it because we wore suits and ties and nice top hats and fedoras and did our best to live our life, right? Because that's the thing is you can't live your best life if you're not in the best position. And if people think that pulling from less than 1% of the overall wealth that a country produces is living their best life, that is ludicrous. And again, they're mentally ill. They're the first thing on the list that they try to attribute to white people's homelessness and their waste of their pink skin. Substance abuse. A lot of people like to forget this. Black people created all the industries that are in this country and made them what they are. I'm talking about like remove all your ideas of pharmakia. The first thing that black people were doing on the plantation was making hooch and liquor and all that stuff. They've been doing that. So again, this is a part of that natural genius. Our ability to fabricate during slavery was much higher because there was no dividend for our work. So your works were not beneficial to you. That's why they had no problem allowing you to express your creative nature. These movies don't show you how much they copied us. Because if they did, you would be like, oh, now it makes sense why they made a patent act year on and through for the generations to match the mental equity of the black man. Now, that being said, the black man is making hooch. These same white overseers are able to confiscate for a want of a more descriptive term that actually truly encapsulates what I mean. But we'll just use the word confiscate. And now they're getting lifted and buzzed and totally drunken off of the hooch and the liquor that these black people are making. Again, you're telling me that slaves wasn't getting faded and doing all this? White people, you can go read certain memoirs of people thinking that slaves were lazy and didn't want to do no work and whoop-de-wop, whoop-de-wop. So everybody didn't get hard-working black people on the plantation. That's not how it worked. I know y'all go to jobs all the time and see niggas who were lazy. There was niggas like that on the plantation. So you can't think that it's changed. Ain't nothing changed. It's the same. Everything is the same, but the day of the week and the year we live. Now, real quick to this last point. Lack of affordable housing. And I'm going to get back to Epstein because he's not a waste. Epstein he's a shame, right on? He brought them shame, but he's not a waste. And I'll speak to that in a second. Lack of affordable housing. Now, that part right there affects black people more than any other group because no other group was told by the droves of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, you're all free to go do whatever you want now. We can no longer tell you what to do. Right. That changed our whole everything. We went, and this is why I push back on the house nigga, field nigga narrative because none of these niggas you talk to and listen to on the internet live in a fucking tent giving you Wi-Fi video. Now, some of them do, right? Some of these niggas is really out there like that. But I'm saying the dudes who are the most adored by the people, them dudes are not like that. Them dudes live in nice, plush, regal estates. palatial estates, as they say, opulent. So if these people are living like that, how can they ever be a field nigga? They're a house nigga. Again, their mentality is messed up. But let's get it all back real quick. Black people have had to fabricate in a land where they were never even given the credence of even a thank you, as if everything they did they were just supposed to do. This is why some of us will do without asking or without wanting anything in a reciprocal form, because for longer than we've been free, we were in servants in this. We were hardcore servants in this land. We've been free for much shorter time, and then the time we've been free, maybe the last 30 years of it have been the best for the people as far as so-called progress. But they're still racist, so there is no cure for it. Right on? There's no cure for bigotry. The only way you can help them is if you put them in the dirt. That's it. You can't cure that from them. I don't give a fuck about if they go through a phase of hating black people and get over it or not. I don't get sad when they kill themselves. I'd be like, thank you, God. Another one bites the dust. Now back to Epstein real quick. Epstein is the, whatever you want to say, Jew, Anglo, Slavic, Scandinavian, who else? Turk, because Jews are Turks. So when I say Turk, I'm talking about all the other umbrella Turks. From the Punjabi to the damn dudes over there in Dagestan and all that. Epstein is an epic success. Even if you look at all the bullshit so how can I look at Epstein? My thing is why should I look at Epstein any worse than I look at slavers? Oh, well, I'm going to say this, man. They haven't devolved the earth so much as they're showing people what it really is again. But Epstein, he's a success. You know what I'm saying? He's a success. Why should I look at him any different than any of the most successful slavers? Only they would have never went to prison and been locked up for the shit they were doing. Dude, the laws that we have on the books now, this is why white folks say what they say. Again, what a waste these dudes are. What a waste. What a waste of slavery. What a waste of everything that they're in. All the evil, wicked, trite, hateful things. I mean, straight perniciously evil. Ha, bruh, the shit they did to us. What a waste of that pink skin or that white skin that they like to say that they got. Just to be on the street and be a fucking bum. What a waste. And let me go ahead and kill this. I'm going to say this. I'm not mad at Epstein being diabolical. Again, for me to be angry with him and people praise a guy like Thomas Jefferson still, they'll speak on all of his negative accolades, but the dude was a rapist. And we don't know if he raped children or sold children to be raped on and violated or not. We don't know. So it's easy to fling mud on the dude who got caught doing the shit he was doing. Should he have been killed by somebody way before that? Of course. Of course he should have been killed. But they're saying he's not dead. So my thing is like, I'm more angry at the people who went along with his bullshit and never slit his fucking throat. I'm more angry at them. I'm more angry at them for being scared for their mortal being and not Hey, bro, I'm not surprised any of those dudes got put on by that dude, but you gotta recognize though, the same dude that taught and groomed Epstein is the same dude that taught and groomed Diddy. So they, even if they never directly met, they have a direct connection. You know, and on Diddy's 48th birthday or one of his birthdays, he had invited Epstein to his birthday at the Playboy Mansion. Now they said that it's not clear if Epstein accepted or declined. They're saying that he wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? You know, okay, it'd be like, hey, knowing people helps. You know, knowing somebody who can tell you some shit helps. You know, and it's a smaller world than people think. Like I was saying the last time, but you know, bro, it's still is the idea that he didn't waste his white skin is what I really have to stress. He didn't waste it. Right on? Did he waste his opportunities to do? I don't know, because to think that there's no more pedophilia because Epstein is out the earth, or to think that, you know, when the people talk about the elites and the this and this and the this, there's way more regular schmoes who are violating children who need to have their heads ripped off. The same people who are out there clamoring for the Epstein files to be released are the same people who are out here driving around and picking up children, offering them candy and shit. This is a fact. So it's just like when George Floyd died. Half the niggas who was out there protesting and shit are niggas who got bodies. Then shot dudes in the back of the head, threw niggas in the trunk and shot the bitch up and pushed it into a motherfucking riverbed and shit. All kind of fucked up evil shit. Throw niggas' bodies inside of abandoned houses and set the house on fire. All the wicked shit you can think of and how they got rid of niggas. Them kind of niggas is out there protesting for George Floyd. So it's the same kind of people who are trying to push and they're clamoring for this shit for Epstein, but they don't have any. So they're all perfect, is what I'm saying. That's my beef with people jumping on ganging up on a so-called dead man. Is like he's dead. Supposedly he's dead, right? So he can't come back. He can't hurt anybody else, and we're just talking about what he maxed out on his potential because there's a bunch of toothless, meth smoking, ain't even got a cardboard box to live in rapists and dudes who were trying to prowl and attack children. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's be real about it. You know, like it's one of them things where, again, he maxed out. Jeffrey Epstein is no different than Thomas Jefferson. He's no different than Benjamin Franklin, another known sexual deviant. But there's a reason why Benjamin Franklin's face is on the $100 bill. Is because he was able, through all of his sexual activity over there in France, he was able to get the French to come over here and help fight to so-called get America's independence. Even if dude isn't dead, but my point is this. Let's just argue that he is dead. Let's just say he is dead, right? These people are out here like a dead man who's already dead did wicked things. And it's like, well, how many dead men fit that description? How many of them fit the description of being heinous? And no doubt, does he have victims whose lives he ruined and shattered? Old girl killed herself last year. That's terrible. However, what a waste of good white skin. She wasted her white skin by killing herself. Because she would have proved to be stronger by staying alive. And for her to demand, for all the real victims, but she was the main one that busted the whole shit wide open. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can see that. I can get that. I can get that kind of vibe off the dude just by looking at him. He looks like that kind of imp type motherfucker. He looks like that. He looks like his pictures, the aura he gave off looks like that. Still, all I'm saying is that if we just remove Jeffrey Epstein, let's just put another dude's name there, right? And he's supposed to be, top level agent in a foreign government, right? He's pretty much a perverted James Bond for all intents and purposes. Nobody has a problem with a man sleeping with a bunch of women. And I mean, like, my thing is like, where do we draw the line? Right on, where is it? Where do we say, okay, I don't fuck with what this person did, but I can't overlook what these people are doing. I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. Because the white people who were talking shit about Epstein have wasted their white skin. They don't got shit. They don't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out. You know what I'm saying? Think about that for a minute. How many white people you think calling for the fucking the release of the other half? How many of them you think make more than 100,000 a year? Be real with yourself for a second. A waste. That's a waste of white skin, bro. If you're a white person and you're not making at least 100K, you're pathetic. You feel me? Got to be pathetic. If I was a white dude and I wasn't making 100,000 a year, at least I'm pathetic, bro. I have to be, because the system is made for the white dude to come up. It's made for them. Warren Buffett didn't get on till he got in his 50s, right? But he didn't waste his white skin and say, fuck it, I'm going to throw in the towel and quit and give up. And we don't know what kind of wicked dealings he got into or if he did anything wicked. But I'm going to say the same thing about Jeffrey Epstein. He played his part. Why should I fault him or, make him feel like he's a piece of shit? Listen, man. Some of these people, bro, you just got to be grateful, man, that you've been able to rub elbows with people, bro. Right on. The right kind of people, I'm gonna say something, bro. This is real. I'm gonna compare when people use their actual whatever they call white privilege, right, versus when dudes just don't know better. All right. Of course you refuse. I mean, but still, you can refuse the deal, but still learn something. It don't mean you didn't learn shit. You know what I mean? You learned something. So even in the refusal, there was still a lesson. And all I'm saying is that for let's just say apples to apples. Like when I was in the Marine Corps, my boy Sean Lejeune, right? Sean Dixon Lejeune is the great 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 grandson of Jean Arthur Lejeune. Lejeune is the name most people know. Camp Lejeune, right? But it's actually Lejeune. It's a French name. Anyway, and the man spoke fluent French. Not my boy Sean, but John A. Lejeune. Now, he was able to let me get away. I was able to get away with so much shit because he would be like, yeah, that's my security guard, right? He didn't waste the privilege he had. This dude, I seen generals, no bullshit. I seen generals go out of their fucking way to pretty much get on their knees and polish this dude off pretty much, bro. Because they'd be like, are you really his great-great-grandson? Fucking just weird ass shit, right? And they would tell me to go somewhere. He'd be like, no, he can't. He's my security. He's my bodyguard. They never, ever said he couldn't have one. Never. Again, that's how you max out. You see what I'm saying? That's how you max out. I know other guys, though, who are not special like that as far as being like a bloodline royalty, who have what people call so-called white privilege and never exercise it because they don't realize that they could do it. Dudes who got good credit and won't go into a bank, right on, and be like, man, I want a loan for $1 million or as much as I can get. Next best thing. Just to flex, just to see what they say. Just to see if your portfolio's there. Just to be like, well, I make this much money. Again, they don't even do it. You got dudes making 100, 200,000 a year and will never go to a bank and be like, yo, I need $1 million loan. No, it's not for a house. And Really, it's actually none of you guys' business. I just need $1 million, and then you set up the payment plans, structure it to where I can pay it off over, a 7-year period. Like, ain't no black dude able to go into the bank and do that unless it's a black bank and he knows the people who own the bank. That's it. We don't have that kind of pull. It's just, I have relatives I can call. No, yeah, hey, that was a major flex. Yeah, that was nigga. What cashing a check with no ID, man? You know how hard that is, bro. Shit. If you can pull one of them off today, you doing something. If you got that kind of rapport with your bank, you doing something. You really are actually, regardless of what your profession is or what your job is, right? The way that they feel about you is that high up. And bro, you took me back, man. You took me back to 2006, 2007, when I first got my first job and stuff, bro. And I remember cashing checks and stuff and just, you know, obviously had my ID and all that kind of stuff, at 15, right? Not too many 15-year-olds bopping around with an ID, but I had one. I needed one. I needed one to cash a check. I needed one to work. Like, it was just, life was just crazy, man. Yeah. To be able to cash a check with no ID is a major flex. That's still a flex, homie. You can just walk up in there and now these days, if they know who you are, you just give them your little debit card and whatever. They typically don't need all that. They know who you are. Oh, that's a good bank to be in, though. The Mormon banks? Shit. Listen, you don't got to tell the church not to fuck with the church's money. Okay? You know what I'm saying? You don't. You don't have to tell the church not to fuck with the church's money. They know better. It's good. But still, back to our boy Epstein real quick, right? And just the likes of him. He maxed out. He did. He really maximized. Let's just say he was all the way wicked to the core. He was estranged from the womb type of wicked. That means, bro, he was always meant to be fucked up. And no matter what he was going to do in life, he was going to be a fucked up person. The only thing I can say is that he maximized on it. He maximized so cold. He got people who were still afraid to say that they was involved in that shit back then with him, because guess what? Because they enjoyed their stuff, probably, number one, on the subdermal level, and then number two, right? They probably were financially compensated. I always think it's weird that these chicks who took the money, who didn't feel bad about what they were doing when they were doing it, and then figured out, oh, I should have got paid. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say this, bro. These weird ass dudes out here are going to figure out what time it is when they're all going down, right? D Treasy's trying to pop a war off so that way he don't end up going to prison when it's all said and done. Word? Because that's what it's looking like. It's looking like if the Democrats get voted in, they'll aggressively go after dude and everybody who was in. The only people who they won't go after are the people in the cabinet who spoke up from time to time. I'm going to say won't go after them, they just won't pursue them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really cookies for these dudes, bro. Like, because it's. But my question is how do they justify being mad at Epstein, but then we'll say it's cool for an 80-year-old man, an 83-year-old man like Al Pacino to have children with like a 30-year-old chick? Like, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? But Jeffrey Epstein introducing chicks to dudes, he's not even fucking these chicks sometimes. For real. He's just doing the whoop-de-wop. Right on? And they're going for the okie doke. Again, at any time, any one of these people could have told on this dude, could have did something about it. When things could have been done about it, their families didn't do nothing about it. I can't imagine that any of the fathers were really that upset, because if they were that upset, they would have killed him. trust and believe that they're killing that dude. They just would have set it up. They would have set up a girl to meet up with Jelaine Maxwell, and they would have been like, boom, as soon as y'all are there, call me, and then I'm gonna lay his ass out. So I already know some weird shit is up. I'm gonna say this, man. The dude is a double, triple, quadruple agent. He had as many people on his payroll as he could. He was paying people to spy on the people that he had paid, so that way he could get information about himself. You know what I mean? Like, when the walls were closing in, I'm sure he knew that the walls were closing in. But did he run and try to go hide and do some, like catch me if you can shit? Not really. He was apprehended, but it wasn't like they fucking found him in like, a underground cellar, you know. I would say this. I'm gonna say this. There's people who were like that. You know what I mean? When they're deep, again, when you're that in deep, you have to play the game like that. And even though life is not really a game, they treat it like one. They treat it so, you know, people treat a lot of stuff trivial, man. They don't have to take it serious because again, the waste of the white skin is for them to be able to blame everybody else. Because if you try to say that, oh, black people are mentally ill and abuse substances and sometimes have a lack of affordable housing, a lack, the access to it, because all the baby mamas with 18 children got all the Section 8. So even if her brother does rate it and qualify for it, he's not gonna get it all the time. Listen, man, these dudes are weird like that, man. Right on. I remember when I met Aaron Rodgers years ago. This bitch ass nigga. I was at the This is Seattle. This is years ago. This is still when they had the Legion of Boom. This is the year after the Super Bowl. So this is 2014, going into 2015, and the Super Bowl that they lost to the Patriots, by the way. So it's the Packers versus the Seahawks, Thursday night football. And I'm out there in Pioneer Square, and I'm all by myself. And the NFL bought out the entire area of Pioneer Square. I've never seen anything like this before in my life, since before or after. They bought the whole area out. So all the businesses that were normally there couldn't even be there. I was like, fuck that, I'm out here, right? I'm out here. And so later that night, damn, Aaron Rodgers and I don't know who the fuck was with him, but it was Aaron Rodgers for sure. And this motherfucker had on a Richard Sherman jersey, right? And I was like, man, you look just like Aaron Rodgers. He's like, nah, I'm his cousin. And I'm like, all right, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't even gonna argue with this dude, But I was like, I should take a picture of you in that jersey. He was like, please don't. And that's when I knew it was him. And that's why I just let it be. I let that shit go. So yeah, if Aaron Rodgers is a weirdo like that, what makes you think a dude that has access to hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in equity, and in and liquidatable funds, you know what I mean? Is gonna be like he's obviously fucking gonna be crazy. I mean, super crazy at that. My brother Brandon Johnson made an excellent point. Man, it must have been like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. We were having a conversation, and he was speaking on how when people get so much money, they get so much wealth and so much power that they just feel like they can just do whatever they want. They can just do whatever. That's literally how they feel. They can just do whatever they want because they realize God is not going to stop them. He's not going to get off the throne to stop you. He's not. He has no inclination to do that. Why would he stop anyone from doing anything if he gave you free will? Right. That goes against the whole construct of free will. And your fate will be whatever your decisions accumulate to. Do people get killed in drive-bys who should not be harmed? Yes. Happens every day. But there are people who who are the children of people who did evil things. And sometimes those evil things that happen to them are because they are the child or the child of a person who never got the comeuppance. And God operates like that. So that's why even when I want to get upset about the stuff that people do, I have to temper it with understanding and say, you know, the third and the fourth generation shall be visited, y'all. Speaking of the earth, they want to. I can believe that. I can believe that. I can believe all that. Listen, dude, them kind of weird ass dudes are so fucking. Again, you can never put nothing past none of these cats, man. Never. You can never put nothing past them because it's just you don't know if they ever like uh some of these famous people you would never know are friends, like super duper super close friends. You would never know that they were tight. Ever. It wouldn't even dawn on you. But because the dynamic of how fame works, the it's like when people don't marry somebody who's famous just so that way that person can be regular and still live their life and you can support them while they support you. And it's not two famous people and one of them is vying for the greater part of the support. Listen, man, dudes like him are already, well, again, he was already evil though. See what I'm saying? He was already evil. So he didn't have to do much to probably get a dude like Aaron Hernandez on his side. Because I heard that dude was already fucked up there. You know, and if you go back, man, and watch that interview, not the interview, but that oh man, it was like the draft class that Aaron Hernandez was in, and it's Chris Carter is telling them dudes, look, because Aaron Hernandez said, like pretty much like what should like what do you do, blah 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 blah, what like what should we do. He was like, if you doing something right now, if you snorting, smoking, whatever, he said stop. He said because you will get caught. He said it's not about an if, it's a when. He said and anything that you up to is gonna catch up with you. And he was looking right at Aaron, man. When he said this shit, it was deep. Like it was like as if Chris Carter, like people know stuff when they know it. Listen, that's the only thing that they know that they can't control you. Look, if you tell them you want money and power, right? Here come the fuck games. Here comes the bullshit because they know that you have a price. You know what I'm saying? A viable one. If a person says, "Man, I want $10 million," and that's all they want, that's all they ever wanted. Man, they might give them 10 million and then see what they'll do to keep that money. I forget, I forget you're an OG like that, so you was around when that kind of shit was really like tough. It's tough, bro. It's fucked up that you know that most niggas you tell that kind of shit to, they won't even believe you. They won't even take you serious. But me, me, I take all that kind of shit to heart because I know people don't go out of the way to say stuff. And some of us have been around, more than others. Some people ain't never been nowhere. Some niggas ain't never left the hood. And I'm not even making fun of them. I'm just stating the fact. There's dudes who were 35, 40 years old and ain't never left their neighborhood. And they're not going to if they can help it. They was born there, they gonna die there. There's some honor in that. That's an honorable. If you're not a completely dishonorable person, that's an honorable thing to do. But if a nigga's just on some, I want to live in the hood so I can do fucked up shit my whole life, that's some whack shit. That's some Buster like activity. Oh yeah, man. Back when Reno was still popping a little bit. Yeah, yeah. See, you know how that. I'm gonna tell you something crazy, bro. There was a dude I met years ago, and he was trying to get me to be. He was trying to get me to rap, sing, all kind of crazy shit, right? And I'm not making this shit up. I can't make this shit up. This nigga from California, he so badly wanted me to want this shit, and he was like, "Okay, are you from that area, bro? Naturally." But the dude was telling me, man, he was like, man, I can get you on, bro. Like he's like, man, I know E40, I know I know all these dudes, right? He's like, they don't owe me no favors or nothing. He's like, but if we make a track, he's like, nigga, I can get you, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. It's always nice to be the first nigga somewhere doing something positive, that they don't want you to do. Again, that's why I had that stuff up about the homeless dudes. Let me just pull that back up again. That's right. Come on. Got to graduate, man. I just feel like that's one of the important things that most people don't really appreciate. But because if we just looking at that right there, right, and we looking at how bad it is for the so-called white man and his homelessness and the waste of his skin that he really can't say, dude. What a waste, bro. You haven't wasted your skin as a black man, or you haven't. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but so is a life. And I see so many people who would rather be on the streets than try to pursue something that's worth having. But because they don't have any functional integrity anymore, they can't really understand, like, you know, you don't have to be like this. But because they would rather have been you. Hey, listen, if you do the right kind of ministries and you do the right stuff and you save your money and you put your money away and just a couple of good, a couple strokes of good fortune come your way, man, anything is really possible. I'm gonna say that because a lot of time people don't think that they can ever own nothing. Listen, man, granddaddy has to be the truth because otherwise we wouldn't be here. Word, you know, and granddaddy's granddaddy, and so on and so forth. Having something means something, bro. You know, straight up, it means something. And black people who understand what that meant back in the day are the black people that actually made sure that their children were going to have a little something, something. My mom and them grew up in Mississippi, and it wasn't like a shack or nothing like that, but it was a beat up old house, and they lived on a farm. And you know, when my first uncle passed away that I can remember, my uncle Charles, I I I couldn't say not bad for a guy from Mississippi because my mind obviously wasn't developed like that. But by the time my uncle Ken had passed, I could kind of conceive it. And then when my uncle Tommy passed, I really felt that. Like, not bad for a Mississippian. Not bad for a dude who's right out the right out the mud, fresh out the mud. You know, same thing for my father and his people. Because they're from the country out there in Alabama, and you know, to go from maybe not rags to all the way riches, but to go from rags to some actual linen to some silk, right, and some wool. Not bad, my friend. And again, we're back to the part where they wasted. We gotta talk about, bro. What a waste. What a waste of slavery. What a waste of everything we went through as black people, man. You know. Hey, ain't nothing more powerful than teaching yourself something. And teaching yourself how to read is probably literacy is the greatest non-physical skill a person has other than speaking. For sure. For sure. I would say literacy is a form of observation that is more critical than base observation because it you know, teaching yourself anything like that, bro, is a major thing, you know. And that's how you're supposed to do it. Start a church and let the people have it. Start another church, let the people have it. When you read something and you finally understand what you're reading, can't nobody tell you nothing different. My great grandfather on my father's mother's side, his name was Clay Abercrombie. According to his counting, he was 112, and they say he lived to be 114. Now I know he was for sure 100 and something. I don't know if he actually got that old, but you never know, right? And I'm not pushing back on my own people's ability to live long or nothing like that because his daughter lived to be 104. You know, my great grandmother. Man, the Boule told a bunch of lies, but the biggest lie they told him is that they was going to help black people. You know what I mean? That's the one lie they really told. But the black Boule is nothing more look. There's several names for the black Boule. It is. It is a social club. The Nation of Islam is a social club. That's a form of black Bouleism. Word? You got a bunch of snooty ass niggas looking down on other black people, talking about what they need to do to fix their lives. Do they realize how many black people cannot afford to drink or smoke weed? Drink beer or smoke weed? Do they know how many black people just can't afford that? They can't even afford cigarettes, really. So when they tell people what they need to be doing, it's like, bro, why don't y'all go to these businesses and tell these businesses that they need to pay people more money? Of course they're not going to do that. Hey, some people be in the Freemason shit and they don't be on none of the bullshit. Some people just show up to go to this shit because that's how they have cover is by having regular people around, right? People who have no fucking clue what's going on, no idea whatsoever. That's how they run that shit. Real quick though, rest in peace to my nigga Chuck Norris, man. Rest in peace to my nigga Chuck Norris. Back to these Boule niggas. Bruh. The Boule didn't waste their skin though. Follow what I'm saying. They might be treacherous, wicked ass niggas, but they didn't waste their skin like a homeless white dude. The homeless white dude has no excuses to be. No, there is no excuse. Even if they wanted to say mental illness, this, that, the third, right? That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. carefully selected or just vetted because this is so and so's nephew, and so is eyeballs deep in the bullshit. So he's not gonna bring somebody that's gonna tell on us, or he thinks he's not gonna bring somebody who's gonna tell on us. But you know, absolute power corrupts. Absolutely, absolute power corrupts. And when you have people who have too much power, like Epstein had too much power, you know, exactly like the cousins, nephews, exactly, yeah, all that. You already know, bro. You already know, bro. I met a dude who said that his granddad was a Mason and said that that dude had managed to somehow, in certain environments and settings, to manipulate the flow of time or at least alter it in some way. And I don't doubt that these dudes are up to shit like that. I don't. Again, the shit about Epstein, like I said, bro, I think it's about motherfuckers with 6 fingers and toes, 8 foot tall, 9 foot tall giants over there in the Middle East. That's what I really think this shit's about. I think they got some of them on videos, fucking little children, and are doing all kind of weird shit. And I think that's why they ain't released them files all the way. It's not just about it's. Everybody knows Bill Gates is a weirdo. We don't, you know what I mean? We don't need to see a video of this dude with an 8-year-old to believe that he did some shit like that. We don't. However, I mean, bro, it's like that. It's like that. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that working at GM or being a school teacher or superintendent is any different than being in the boule? Do you think it's any different for real, for real? Think about what I'm saying. It's exclusive. Everybody can't get in. Once they get in, right, sometimes people do things that they wouldn't normally do to keep their position. This is why women hike their skirts up. All the time. Sometimes they don't even get a promotion. They just do it so that way they curry good favor. Or stay out of the bad favor of someone. And their negative attention. This is crazy, but this is true. Listen, nigga, I'm telling you, I got an auntie. She been going through bullshit at GM for like the last 30 years. She said this is her last year. She said she retiring this year. She said it don't matter. She said I'm tired of dealing with these people. Tired of coming in here and having to smile at people I don't want to deal with and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. That's what I'm talking about, though. To deal with that kind of shit for 30 years, dog, it's it's the same shit. It's all the same shit. I'm not talking about people drinking piss and eating dookie. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like the structure is the same because the people who run that shit are the people who run that shit. Right. That's why it be so fucked up everywhere, bro. Because you got a bunch of these so-called secret society, wink and a nod type niggas. I'm just saying, bro. All them groups are the same, man. I don't put nothing past none of these places. McDonald's. McDonald's is the only place that I've seen them maximize regular talent and get more out of it than probably almost anybody else did. Right. Because the people who run GM are more than likely some kind of Illuminati, Mason, some unheard of secret society, you know what I mean? Again, drinking blood and fucking little babies, doing weird shit, right? Like, Nigga, for real, for real. Them same dudes who are in charge of those places are the same people that run all these businesses. Yep. Regular talent to serve up. Listen, bro. Listen, whether it's people burger, beef burger, a rat burger, right? They serving them up. But they're maximizing that talent. There are a lot of businesses that, for all intents and purposes, have people who are homeless but have a job. And what I mean by that is they have unstable housing. They're not really a reliable worker, but because they're white, they want them to do well. I'm saying what I'm saying. It's the same instances anywhere you go. What's crazy is the shit that we're saying right now, the shit that we're talking about, bro. This isn't brand new, right on. This is what the Giants and all them weird ass niggas was doing thousands of years ago, bro. Like again, if the scripture has it to where you can kill somebody for taking your daughter's virginity, why wouldn't you kill them for violating your little baby? Naturally, that's happening. Naturally, they're dead and out of there. But bro, these are what these dudes are up to. Bro, it's super diabolical, bruh. How fucked up is it that they would rather hire that dude and have that dude at the job place than to give brother man a job whose baby mama, wife, significant other is all on his ass because he ain't got shit going on. It's even worse yet because, I'm in a state where they have like a lot of transportation, and I don't take none of that for granted at all. I'm grateful every time I get on the public transport, right? Every time. I don't ever take that shit for granted because I know what time it is. So when I'm able to go and make money and I'm able to just catch the bus, if I really wanted to get a car, I'd already have one, But there's some things I'm working on with myself, and until I get all the way where I need to be, I just need to not be driving. I need to be uh, steadily on my feet and moving around and and just really taking in the sights and like again being grateful for everything that I have. And but I get paid though. Again, I don't it don't matter because I get paid. You know what I'm saying? I got enough sense to be motivated. I'm not gonna waste my skin, right on. You know, this this righteous skin that God gave me in this body. You feel me? You're not gonna waste yours. But we see a lot of brothers who waste theirs. It's sad. Man, I don't even be worried about the cameras, bro. I ain't doing nothing. Right on. I might be rolling one up from time to time. And all them cameras on the bus, these fools getting killed every day, man, on the buses and shit. And then these cops take months, if not years, to find these dudes sometimes. They pathetic. But it is what it is. It is what it is. What can I do? What can I do about it? But yeah, you know, whenever I really need to be mobbing somewhere, I'll borrow some wheels or whatever. If I'm really desperate, I'll do the Uber thing and I'll rent one of their Uber cars. But I try not to really do that. I just don't really care for that. But nah, bro. They wasted it in white heaven, bro, of all places, where they account for, bro. If they're not 50, 60% of all the wealth in this land, I don't know what they are. Their percentage of their population is damn near the same as their wealth. And again, I put the Jews in there with them. I don't like separating the Jews from white people because, again, on the application, they don't say if they're Jewish or not. That would be anti-Semitic. Can you believe that? I mean, I'm gonna say this, bro. The fact that they will allow dudes to run around here on the wicked of wicked with the with animals, having sex with people, people having sex with little babies and little children, right on. Like, shit is just it's madness out here right now, bro. Like, things that would have got whole villages wiped out for being involved in it. Now, all of a sudden, this guy should just go to counseling or he should go to prison and be registered. And it's like, what does being registered do? What does that actually do to them? Nothing. This is why Jeffrey Epstein being dead is the best thing. Right on? He's off the earth. He can no longer do that weak shit to nobody. So that's where I stand on that. You know, I feel like the same way that he was allowed to do what he did was because the powers that be, all these people, Democrat and Republican alike, independents, whatever, all them people benefited. I'm gonna say it like this: how much of the APAC money that these politicians got, how much of it came from Jeffrey Epstein in some way, shape, or form or another? We'll never know, bro. We'll never know. Exactly. Right. They're saying he was Mossad. So if he did want a war with Iran, he cultivated the exact things that he needed to even before his death. So in his death, he still get what he wants. I mean, it's different, man. Every little place you go is a little different, bro. And it's good that they be on top of it, but most of these dudes don't be on top of it out here, bro. There's so many weirdos out here, man. Like, and they're from all. So the thing is, it's not like it's just a bunch of white and black people where you can kind of probably get your numbers down. You got individuals from everywhere. So now you're trying to figure out how many of these people are like. And again, all these cultures practice the nefarious act of selling children. Listen, man. Listen, man. These dudes don't even begin to understand how much bread it would take to get every homeless white person up off the street. I would fair to say the money that they spent in Iraq and Afghanistan would not be enough to have lifted most of these people about the street. I'd even fair to say that most of them would have died from drug overdose or something like that anyway. So they actually had some of their lives prolonged by the government not giving them outreach and not doing everything for them. It's crazy. You can't just put somebody behind the wheel because they want a car. Does that make sense? Like, they have to be able to drive, you know. And so, right, they can they can they can easily have said like, yeah, let's dump 38 trillion into American infrastructure. We'll do everything would look nice, and man, it's sad to say they would have more people who would be dead because then, if we're talking about apples to apples, and black people are still less than 1% of the wealth in this nation, they would really get to see that the thing called white privilege or whatever, it's not so much that it's real, just like with white so-called supremacy. It's not that it's so much that it's real. It's that there's a system at play that any nigga with good sense can see that these motherfuckers are all on the same team. And they all team up when they have to. So, okay. We have to play the same shit. You know? No doubt they're bothersome to hell. But the whole problem is that look how many white people whose lives are together. Think about what I'm saying. Look how many white people whose lives are together. They killed a whole family. Whole family. Killed the dog too. Like, damn, killed the dog? Yeah, they killed the dog too. Right? Of course they're gonna kill themselves, because that's how they get down. Right? It's just that's the madness I'm talking about. We have individuals who have carte blanche to be completely wickedly evil. They have carte blanche to do it. Nobody gonna stop them. And again, had they been given more things, they would be even more evil right now. And it's crazy to think that they would be in worse condition. When you have something that somebody else doesn't have, and then you can't justify why you still hate them, that's when you start to do evil things to yourself. Because it wouldn't be enough. Right. How would they feel then that they force black people to be so far down? Yeah. I mean, but that's the whole thing though, is I'm not mad at these dudes, man, again, bro, for having their own little ways. For having their own whatever about them. That's actually righteous. To the degree that they can at least think for themselves a little bit. I mean, but they only want to do what they're doing, bro, for two reasons, man. Because at this point, the end is near. The real 400-year marker for the people is coming up. And they're scared and they're scrambling. This is why they have to do all the stuff that they're doing. Because they know that it's almost up. Man, listen, the autocorrect is a motherfucker, bro. The phone thinks it knows you better than you know yourself sometimes. I can't stand that shit. I cannot stand it, bro. Okay? I'll be putting in words and it be like coming up with like words that I've never even heard of before. Sometimes I'm like, I'll have to look that word up and see what that means. You know what I'm saying? It'd be too wild. But yeah. I do believe that these dudes trying to distinguish themselves is going to become ever more present. You heard of that little crazy looking motherfucker Nick Fuentes, right? He's a prime example of what I'm talking about. He is not wasting his so-called white skin. His last name is Fuentes. He couldn't give a fuck. Right on? And he's a weirdo. And he's some kind of homosexual and all that shit. At least I think he's a gay dude. He's weird to me. Right on? But that motherfucker is maxing out on the pink skin, dog. He is not just letting it go to waste. He is not just sitting there idly by. Right. Right. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to be like, to pass up $100 if you said, yo, I'll give you $100 if you help me dig this hole right here for the next hour. He looks like the type of dude to get his hands dirty for an hour, even though he's a fucking complete utter weirdo. Right on. I'm gonna say this right here, man. It wouldn't doubt. I wouldn't doubt. Listen, I wouldn't doubt none of this crazy shit that's going on with these dudes, bro. Back there pulling the strings and puppet mastering these motherfuckers and shit. It wouldn't surprise me. But I think it's beyond just him though, man. Like I said, bro, there's some motherfuckers over there in the Middle East, dog. 8 foot, 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall or some shit, living in caves and shit. Who these dudes really answer to on the for real. On the they know it and I know it. They'll never deny nothing like that. That's why the internet can feel the way it feels. But the Epstein files got them 6 finger and toe motherfuckers in it. I'm telling you. He answers to somebody, and whoever he answers to is probably in a fucking cave, subterranean, 100 feet, 200 feet underground, super plush, mega internet, all kind of shit. And they do whatever he says to do. If he wants little boys and little girls that night, he gets that. If he wants old men and old women, he gets that. Yeah, yeah. Well, they're not people for sure. I hate to, yeah, I hate to, you know, I, yeah, clones that can procreate, something like that. And even if not clones, man, I was thinking about this the other day. Brother Scribe said something years ago that made a lot of sense, and I've thought about it since he said it. He said the only way you can have a group of people that have recessive genetics is if they was all kept somewhere purposely, where like somebody kept them somewhere. Now again, these are the same white dudes who I'm claiming don't waste it. They good skin. Well, I'm gonna say, bro, I don't. I'm not gonna say I don't believe in people having mass so much as I think that these frequencies affect how we see things. I think all the frequencies on this earth, all these so-called satellite dishes, all these towers, all that stuff, I feel like it affects how we actually visualize the earth. Because I'm not sure everything looks the way that it looks. We were born with these things like this. So the people who would know that things don't look the same or are not the same are people who would have been born way before now without all this. Right. When they make a movie about the 1700s, it really doesn't, capture. Oh, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that these motherfuckers is running around here with some. Look, years and years ago, and I don't share this story with people very often. My boy Rich, this was back in my Seattle hot dog days and shit. Rich said he this chick he knew that was his roommate said that she had chopped off 3 of her fingers on accident by closing her door. Right on. And he said when he seen her again, they had grew back, bro, on everything. And he asked her, he said, "Didn't you cut your fingers off?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm a reptilian," as if she was joking, but bro was terrified. Bro was like, he's like, "Man, I got about that building like a couple months later." He was like, "I was scared to death, bro." Or you don't know what is on this earth. You don't know. I mean, I'm not saying you don't know, but I'm just saying people have no idea. You just have no idea. You just, always be ready for the unexpected. Always. You know, be ready to go on the offensive at any time. Always. Well, um, we've all seen somebody that is abnormal, bro, where it's like that dude is not regular. He's not, right? And I'm gonna get back to the waist of the good skin or whatever, right? You know, good white skin in a second. But check this out. My dad said, son, he said the year was 87. He said I was getting on the airport, coming back from Korea, and check this out. I'm gonna get right to that. He said he was coming back from Korea. He said there was a white dude. Listen to this. He said, son, he said, right when I seen this dude, he said, I looked at him to see if his hair was dyed, to see if his mustache was dyed, to see if his beard was dyed. He said, son, he said he had a brown, dark brown beard, a blonde mustache, naturally blonde, and red hair. My dad said, son, I didn't take my eyes off this dude. I watched him the entire time. I was like, it was like that, Dad. He said, man, he said, son, he said, I ain't never seen nobody like that before or since. I mean, and my dad was born in the 60s, you know what I'm saying? And he didn't seen a lot of people travel the world. When a person says, I never seen nobody like this, that tells you a lot, bro. This dude had 3 different hair colors, bro. His mustache was blonde. Naturally, my dad was like, he was like, you can tell when somebody does certain things. He was like, and this was at that time, you know, during the 80s where people were trying to be eccentric. He was like, but son, he was like, it was all natural. It was his natural hair. That's right. Bro, tell me you wouldn't be like, I gotta watch this motherfucker, bro. I gotta watch him, bro. I'm not taking my eyes off this dude, bro. It's not like when people have like brown hair that turns like a little bit of blonde. No, this dude had full blown ginger red hair, a blonde mustache, and a brown beard. Nah, bro. Got to watch this nigga. Nope. And it looks natural. Nope. Watching him. Okay. Watching him. Nope. Again, man, they got chimeras running around here. Like real life ones. And again, let's talk about Elon Musk real quick, who I think is another good example of using his white skin, even though he looks like he's straight from Middle Earth. Right on? Some dude was faking the other day to be Elon Musk, trying to, gas up some bullshit. You know, I'm like, yeah, sure, homie, sure, you're Elon. you know, it was just too funny to me because it's like this dude knows that I think that he looks like he's from Middle Earth, and that dude has maxed out on his pink skin. Now, is that mostly through government welfare? Sure. But it doesn't matter. He got the money. Show us what exactly? But yeah, bro, these dudes been out here on these streets, man, 32% to 48%, depending on the study, depending on the time. White people home. So a third of them who are out there on the streets are white people. Think about that, at least. And they say that's underrepresented because when black people and in some cases, Hispanics, okay, I follow what you're saying. I follow what you're saying. I think the movie that got it closest to to like clone armies that I've seen, other than Star Wars, which I think was the most, um, I thought it was the most elaborate. I did. I thought it was the most elaborate of all the clone schemes. Because they took a warrior and used his, genomic materials to make their army. Now, obviously, he's not a white guy, so in the universe, even though he was a mixed looking dude, right? In the universe, right? In their universe, like one of the coldest dudes was not a white dude. And that's who they made the whole clone army from. You know, it's sad, man. Because these dudes again, man, they wasted all the good stuff, bro. How they waste the the daggone the opportunity again to go into a bank and say, man, I need $1 million. A million. I need a million. Right on? I need a million. Right now. I mean right now, right now. What's $1 million to the bank, dog? Nothing. And it's somebody else's money anyway. So they if their word is good, they can get it. Again, bro, a white dude who's a felon has as good a chance as getting a job as a black man who's never been convicted of a crime, let alone never been arrested. Oh, bro, I want to say this, man. All this stuff comes out the scripture, you know, and I like to believe that when the flood happened, that in the middle of the earth, all the creatures that retreated to the middle of the earth, I like to believe that when they went down there was some cloning, but I just like to believe more so there was a bunch of indiscriminate breeding that created hybrid groups that are now extinct. They're now no longer, like physically available in that form, and if they are, they're um, not in hiding. That's what I'm looking for. Not recess. What's the word I'm looking for, man? They're they're waiting for an appointed time. You get what I'm saying? I can't find the word. Standby. There we go. They're on standby, I believe. If they're here on the earth still. But the centaurs, the satyr, the minotaur, the fawn, the mermaid. Um, what else? If you want to use the Egyptian lore, and tote and all of them, right? Bird head and all of them, right? Jackal head and fox head and eagle head, right? And alligator head, right? All them, right? Yeah, like them dudes had children, physical babies. So when we talking about the agenda is really them trying to do something that they've been trying to do, which is to show who they really are, because they're tired of faking it. A lot of this warfare stuff is to scare people, but right now in a lab, they're trying to split genomes or something. If they're willing to show us robots that can do karate kicks, bro, what do you think they really got? They're trying to put AI into a body already. It's a fact. But they want an army of AI robots, fully autonomous, think for themselves, give themselves orders. Right. Shit's wicked. That's what this shit's about. You want to keep it a whole buck? Right. And what that army is for? To try to fight the Most High. I'm gonna say this, man. Whether the pink skin is a full blown Gentile or sometimes a watered down whatever, a watered down Mongoloid or even a watered down Negro or Negroid, right? Uh, I try not to act like they're all gonna do bad because I know that's not all of them. I'm gonna say this, bro. Them dudes got on the earth because of them angels, man. Again, them dudes did so much. Like I'm talking about, like in the middle of the earth, right? This is why they're all fucked up like that. Because, bro, this is why they're so inbred like that, bro. Their fathers created them to be a specific way on the earth. That's why everything that they do is fucked up. Everything. You ever wonder why they don't ever do nothing positive? Never. Like they have to fuck up something first, and then they'll try to fix the fuck up. But they don't. No, they are on some bullshit. Straight off rip. This the only group that'll go somewhere, kill somebody, and then act like they ain't do nothing wrong. Black people know if you kill somebody, people might want to kill you. And at least we're aware of that. I I totally agree, bro. Listen, I'm not pushing back that these dudes weren't created, and I feel like when you say we clone these dudes, I'm like, nah, bro. A bunch of black Romans and a bunch of black Greeks indiscriminately breeded with these dudes who they had no idea where they came from. I know that's sickening. However, it's not our people per se, but they are our people because we all have a common ancestry when we're talking about actual Afro Negro black people. So we can't deny the Romans who were actually black, the Greeks who were actually black, our kinship just because they was on some dumb shit. That's just like uh there's a part in the book of Chronicles, man, and it's very interesting, right? Because it brings up what they call the troglodyte, right? And the troglodyte, when you look up the word troglodyte, it's called the troglodyte. So when I saw this, I said to myself, I mean, now these could obviously be black troglodytes, right? You know, the dudes who live in Africa now. Now I'm not talking about our brothers and sisters. Again, everybody knows who I'm talking about. Even they know. Right on? It's like when I deal with certain dudes who are African, I can tell that they're missing certain ingredients. I hate to say it like that, but they are. You know, you know, somebody went too light on the salt, and too heavy on this curry and shit. You know what I'm saying? They should have put a little more salt there, bruh. You got a delicate spice that is, meant to be applied in good taste. Don't nothing taste good tasting just like curry, not to me. So when that kind of thing like that happens, I just have to read it in my mind and say, okay, these guys aren't who they think they are. That's fine. But back to the point of them being soulless, there's too many different parts in the scripture that distinguish between real men and the beast. Like, whenever it calls them beast, I know what he's talking about. I know what the Father means because we've all seen the real grimy, gritty nature of some of these individuals where it's like, man, you'll really just defecate on the sidewalk and leave it there. And I mean, bro, like, you feel me? Like, just hateful, evil, wicked stuff where it's like, if you caught them doing it, you shove their face in their own fecal matter, you know? I'm going to say this. When the people were pushed out of Judea by the Romans, because the Romans did beat their ass, despite what niggas, want to feel. You know what I'm saying? The Romans beat the shit out the people, and it's just one of them things. So all we could do is throw our hands up, bro, and just say, they got us, man. Our people put us ourselves in a fucked up spot. No, they did, man. Romans beat the shit out the people, man. And it's like, I blame the people. Word? Here we go. Right here. Second Chronicles, chapter 12. And we're just going to start the very first part and then go on real quick. And it came to pass when the kingdom of Rehoboam, that's the son of Solomon, was established, when he had grown strong, that he forsook the commandments of the Lord and all Israel with him. And it came to pass in the 5th year of the reign of Rehoboam, Susakim, king of Egypt, came up against Jerusalem because they had sinned against the Lord. So this is an Egyptian dude riding because they had sinned against the Lord. Now maybe his offense is different to Susakim, but there's obviously Most High God could just be using an Egyptian to break their heads. Now listen to how he rolls up. With 1,200 chariots and 60,000 horse. And listen, there was no number of the multitude that came with him from Egypt. Libyans, Troglodytes, and Ethiopians. You know what I'm saying? So people been doing the bullshit with these dudes. They rolled up, bro. They couldn't be numbered, bro. That's disgusting. You know that was at least 1 million men, bro. At least. Do you hear how they fucking pulled up, my nigga? 1,200 chariots, 60,000 horse, and an innumerable multitude? Stop playing. Nigga, please. And this is why I say to this day, I never try to test the Most High, bro, because he will send some shit. Okay? He's like, that's how they gotta. Now that's how gangster the Israelites are, right on? That he had to roll heavy like that. There was no room for fucking around. He's like, nah, nigga, nah. So again, I say with these dudes who don't even realize that some of these punk ass, beasts who running around here now barely got the sense of an ape, right? They for real don't realize that some of their ancestors were back then probably in that multitude. Didn't waste their skin back then. Said, no, I'm trying to get on, dog. I'm trying to get all the way on. Who don't want to get on? All right. But these dudes is like, shit, I already made it, bro. I'm in America. I was born in America. I'm American. You can't take that from me. True enough. However, the people can make you pay the Pied Piper by sitting outside and having to deal with the messed up weather. You get what I'm saying? Like, when a person doesn't give you money and you just sit out there looking stupid, and now you like, damn, I can't get no drugs, I can't get no booze. I'm fucked up. I'm just gonna curl up in this ball over here and just put this fucking little lint blanket, the blankets that look like lint. I forget what they're made out of. They're like recycled blankets or something like that. But they look just like lint. them joints. They'd be outside with two or three of them joints wrapped up. And I'd just be like, look at this dude over here. When people think that they're winning just because they're white, that tells you all you need to know. And again, man, Paul Mooney said it the best. When I see a white man who's homeless, it makes me want to cry. I think to myself, what a waste of good white skin. He couldn't have said it no truer, no better, bro. That was no lies. No lies detected from Paul Mooney. What a waste of good white skin. Because they didn't use it the right way. They all should be making at least $100K a year. The poorest one should be making $100,000 a year. The poorest, right? There would be no Consuelos or Duyanes or Farids or none of that shit in this bitch. There wouldn't be no Abdullahs in this bitch if they just did the work. But they got too comfortable in middle management. Too comfortable being able to tell other people what to do and expecting the work to be done. Think about that. They got so comfortable that they lost their skills and abilities. And now, millions of them are on the verge of a complete crap out. There's no excuse for them not to make 100,000, bro. Like, we're just talking about, and they talk about the financial wealth gap. The problem is that they're okay with athletes getting big money as long as there's white guys that are getting paid like that. Do you really think they would watch sports if only black people played? Really, really? And not one, and there was just a bunch of mega rich black dudes? Fuck no. They have to have white dudes in there. Have to. And that's their great white hopes. They have to have them. The NBA doesn't need Luka Doncic, but he's a necessity so that way white boys out there don't feel left out. Does that make sense? He's the white boy that they wish they all could have been. He got some hoop game, right? He tries his best to think he got some kind of nigga swag to him, right? All that shit. They wish they could be like that. They're nothing like that. And so therefore, because they can't be that, they're more resolute to being a complete, utter fucking loser. That's pathetic and shameful. It is. It's just, it blows my mind. And before I get up out of here in the next, few minutes, not right this moment, but it just makes me think, why don't they want to be in a better position? And again, just to go back to Epstein, because you brought him up, you know what I mean? And I really want to use him as the catalyst to this. No matter how vile and diabolical and wickedly evil this motherfucker is, no matter how heinous he is, he maximized on all of his bullshit. There's got to be something said about that. Hitler's not known for fucking, being a gay painter, which he was, right? No, Hitler's known for fucking trying to take over the world. High on methamphetamine half the time when he was trying to do this shit. Right. Was he a righteous dude? No. But without him, the Jews don't have Israel right now. So they can thank Hitler for that. Even though he did some bullshit. You know what they say about eggs and omelets? It's the truth. And I'm not talking shit, I'm just saying. Right? So Epstein is one of them type of dudes. I have to look at him and I have to say, right. They're already, bro, think about it. Why should I look at a dude who's getting high on the streets better than Epstein? Like, this dude's fucking getting high in the open air, Somebody's child could step on a needle, right, and get a disease that's incurable, right? Like, come on. And then, right, do people then have the same smoke for them then? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they say the parents should have did their job and whoop But wouldn't you say that about every instance, other than the ones where the parents are abusing the children or allowing their children to be sexually exploited? Right. So naturally, the whole idea is that no matter how bad the character you want to pick, let's look at Donald Trump. They like to call him the Orange Man, Tangerine Man, whatever, whatever. I'm gonna say this right here. He done maximized. He has maximized. He is maxed out. He's the fucking president. I mean, I don't know if you can max out any more than that. You know, I mean, on this earth, in this point in time, like unless you can go to heaven, and become an angel, that's it. Because that's the end of the hardware and software upgrades. That's it. There's only one Most High. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Get packed out for thinking different. So it's like, yeah, bro. The fact that you was in contact with any of these people ever at any point in time, you know, it just shows where you've been. But you got to be careful. I know there don't be a bunch of people watching these channels like that. So you ain't got to worry about nobody coming over here and trying to really do no crazy stuff. But just be careful, man. Because they're always watching, bro. The system is always watching, and the fact that we're talking about these dudes that are for real life, questionable genetic background, don't know if you were made in a subterranean lab and grew out the earth like a damn orc from fucking Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? Like, don't know if these guys are the original test tube babies and we just don't know it. Like, we don't know. Right. We don't know. But I do know that they're here and they cause a lot of destruction. And they have a lot of guns and a lot of bombs and nukes. And they want to hurt. Anyway. They want to hurt the Most High, but we won't let them, because He going to send the greatest forces ever. And they going to crush them. And their whole idea of whatever they're trying to do is going to fall short. But, bro, white heaven is still white heaven. There's on the land, they're still top dog. People still dying to get to America. Think about that. No matter how bad it is here right now, they're still dying to get here. People still crossing that border daily. Right now, somebody is waist deep crossing that border. I'm about to make a better life for myself. Told the baby, hold on tight. While they got him sitting on top of the shoulders, they holding on to their papa's heads and stuff. He's like, yeah, get your hands off my eyes. I can't see, Right, yeah. It's going down. Right now. So they can't tell me that it's not the spot. This is the spot. This is white heaven, dog. Like, even the poorest of the poor person who got an abode has running water and electricity. Even the poorest of the poor has that. When you're, you can't be homeless and expect to have running water and electricity, but you still have access to it if you're homeless, if you're in the right areas. Facts. So they settle for being losers in white heaven because they know whenever the power turns and it goes back, whatever happens is going to happen to them too. They're hoping that they're overlooked. But the thing is, they've been drug using miscreants, liars, manipulators, cantankerous, and engaging in many different forms of chicanery, Anyway, and it's just despicable, bro. It's despicable. That's why it's like, would I have tried to break Epstein's neck if I ever seen him? Oh, no doubt. Put a zip tie around his neck and literally, pull that shit as tight as I can. a couple zip ties, just to make sure he's not getting out of there. You know, like that's the kind of shit. But I mean, as far as me treating his sin as if it's way worse than these other people who were out here still alive and sinning. Think about that. They're alive and sinning. It'd be different if they were like, on the righteous path, on the path of light. But they're on the path of darkness and they're literally throwing stones. And they don't even have a house. They don't even have a abode to live in. Right? They don't have a place where they live. So we can't take somebody's word who lacketh the abode, right? They lacketh, right? Can't take them serious. We have to do the right thing. But yeah, man, as I get ready to cut out, bro, I just want to say this, dude. The I'm gonna put that back up on the screen one more time so that way people can see that on the end part, because you know how people be, they just be skipping through the videos and shit. Oop. Man, gotta stress this. If old boy Jeffrey Epstein was one of these white people who was homeless, we wouldn't even be thinking about him right now. And I bet you there's a bunch of homeless white people who are up to the same bullshit he was on. So out of the 32% or out of the 32%, what percentage of them do you think have committed sex crimes who are homeless? Out of the 48%, out of them, how many of them do you think have committed sex crimes? And we could put the and or worse on there. And that's what I want people to think about is like, don't look at these people and think that they're good people or that they're virtuous because they're poor. They're just poor. And it's not like they're the meek because they want to get. How are you meek and you want to get high on amphetamines every day? Ain't trying to make your life better at all. Won't get into a fucking program to try to get your shit cleaned up. Won't do anything right. Don't have your ID as a grown ass man or woman. What the fuck? I mean, just. And these are grown up white folks running around here like this. There's some niggas running around like this, but there are a bunch of white people who are homeless who do not have their IDs all over America. And the question is, you got to ask yourself, how many of them have warrants? And then the question you need to ask then, for what? Right. Every single time y'all see one of them, just tell yourself, what a waste. What a waste. And let your brothers and sisters know when you see them. Don't let it go to waste. You can always be positive and tell a little punk ass, peckerhead, hey, don't give up. But listen, man, I ain't got nothing for them like that for real. Word. But some words. That's about it. But the words I got for this, when I really feel some type of way, I straight tell them how I be feeling. They ain't no better than the rest of these dudes. They busters. And they know it. Look, I salute y'all. I salute you again. And I salute you once more. May tomorrow, in all ways, shape, and form, surpass today. For the better, the greater. And may your next week outshine any dark spots of the last. May it just be a wonderful week this week. The Passover's coming up, y'all. The moon will be full close to the end of this week that's coming up. And I know a lot of people are like, it doesn't happen in March. The thing is that there won't be a full moon till damn near this next period of the next month. And we all know that's not Passover. The Passover happens at the first of a certain part of the month. I mean, excuse me. Yeah, you start on the 1st to the 7th, all up to the 14th. But you're supposed to have those 7 days for sure where you're not drinking, have no yeast in your house, have no leaven in the house. No rising agents. But look, as we get close to that time, people gonna start acting a fool even more and more and more. And don't feel bad for nobody, man, who you tell yourself you did not do it to them. And what a waste. White heaven has done too much for them. The least they could do is realize that they've squandered everything that they were going to have. And the craziest part is that it's such a waste because until they die, it's not too late.